Folks, welcome back to the Rec Room podcast with Brian Rector. And it's crazy because today is Thursday, May 1st. We just had the birthday episode. We just had the crossover between two guys, Matt Zeleke, John Lackner. That was really special. Was excited for you guys to see that, but I'm excited for you guys to see this one too, because it came together really fast. In fact, I ran into my man here at the pickleball court just a day ago.
Yeah.
And from there, we were able to put the thing together. So super excited. Graduation coming up Saturday, May 3rd, 8:30 a.m. Get the live stream from me if you want to see it. Actually, we're rolling the show Sunday, so they won't be able to.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Come on now. But by the time you see it, graduation would have happened.
There we go.
So, without further ado, it's Brian Rector, and today we have Matt Zeleke from Michigan State Cross Country, who is a first and foremost follower of Jesus, but then the self-proclaimed best pickleball player on that team. I think we have to divulge about that. I think you were saying that there's been a little bit of a tournament going on and everything else.
Yeah.
but that's where we're at. So Matt, thank you for being here, number one. And I'm curious, like, what were you thinking when I came up to you yesterday, right out of the blue?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely was a little surprised, but I really just admired your passion. And like when you asked about a faith-based interview, I was like, that's really cool. And I think that itself is what drew me to come here today.
Well, again, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I won't say that I know a whole lot about you. I'm just learning things as we're sitting here. But I think one of the things that jumps out to me is that you've taken steps of faith for as long as you've been in college. Like,
Exactly.
I know you've been baptized.
Yeah.
I know that you've gone to a mission trip. And I know that you're also very well involved in things like AIA.
Yeah.
So what has it been like for you to be taking these steps of faith since being here at Michigan State?
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State's provided so many opportunities for me, from going to South Africa to leading at AIA to going to Ultimate Training Camp in Colorado.
Right. That's
all
right.
those different opportunities have just given me, one, surrounding myself with community, but also just seeing the Lord work in different aspects. I think the Lord really puts us in places to grow, and all those opportunities I've grown in so many different ways.
Most certainly. And, you know, I think the conversation about Ultimate Training Camp is one that always gets me because two of the guys I knew who have gone are Matt Basgall and Tiernan Chowdy as well.
Yeah.
Those two guys from Michigan State hockey. And they both have come on the pod.
Yeah.
Matt's come here, and another one that was weird, this was like crazy.
Yeah.
I knew that God was up to something when I heard this, because Tiernan went to camp last summer and was there with a childhood friend of mine from Wilsonville, Oregon.
Who's
who
the friend?
Plays women's basketball at UC Davis. Sydney Burns is her name.
Okay, I did not meet her.
Okay.
No,
Yeah. Redhead. You know, hard to miss. But it was crazy because I text Sydney. Here's what happened. I thought Sydney was going to the camp in Minnesota.
Okay.
Sydney shows up to the camp in Colorado, which I know that Michigan State athletes were at.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I see Sydney in the back of AJ Militello's Instagram story. And I text Sid and go, hey, you might be around a bunch of people I know.
Yeah.
So apparently she was asking a bunch of our folks who were there, and they all were like, oh yeah, we know him. We know Brian. I'm like,
funny.
what? This is crazy. So
That's cool.
So it ended up being that Tiernan and Sydney did a show with me together. Sydney
really
was on
cool.
Zoom. Tiernan was in the basement with me. It was like crazy
That's
how
really
that happened.
cool.
But talk about UTC a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know that each person who goes, they have a different takeaway.
Yeah.
And I know that there are many different talking points. So for you, what were some of the most important things you took away?
Yeah, so I had two big takeaways. I got to go actually 2 years. So my camper year, I really learned a lot about what biblical competition looks like. They talk about, there's this principle, so there's 5 principles, and the second one's called inside game. And it talks about what motivates you. And for me, it used to just be like praise from other people, awards, accolades, all this. And they had a formula for what biblical and what God views you and how you're accepted in God's eyes versus how the world views you.
Sure.
And they talked about how in God's eyes, in the world's eyes, it's your performance plus others' opinions is your identity. But in God's eyes, it's God's truth. And that truth for me really hit home. And to this day, that's just something I can resonate with. It's like reading scripture, reading what the Lord says, like my truth was I'm accepted and I don't have to do anything to gain that acceptance. And understanding that just changed the way I run. I can just run with a sense of freedom, knowing whatever time I run, I'm accepted in the Lord's eyes. I don't have to wait to see like from fans or from coaches, teammates, a round of applause. Like, man, I can go back to the word, go back to the Lord through prayer, through all these different things, and just understand that the Lord's got me through that and I'm accepted through his.
Wow, man. I like that. That's a good place to start. So when you were competing previously, were there moments of frustration for you? Or like how did the pressure to perform manifest for you before you understood that truth?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say the biggest thing was just overwhelmment. Like a lot of overwhelmment from whether it's a bigger race, bigger stage, just whether someone's in the stands that you're like, oh, they have an impact on my life, understanding that like this race could change my life. And when you go from a place of this race could change my life to knowing like I'm secure in the Lord, that's the best feeling ever. And to go from that to now I step on the line using my sport as an act of worship instead of just for myself and my glory, I'm using it for God's glory, is just really impactful. And understanding like I'm just doing this, and this is a gift from the Lord that I get to use to serve others, right? Like our sport is a platform that God gives us to minister to others. And that's what I like to use just as my life. I like to think of my sport as a ministry, because we think of ministry as like just church or one-on-one discipleship often, but no, like ministry can really be like giving teammates rides, having conversations, all these different things. And I think like your testimony is a great tool for ministry, but also your sport, the way you interact with teammates, fans, coaches, all these things. And all you do your whole life is a ministry to point back to Jesus.
So I think that's really good, because like so many times when folks come to faith and are an athlete, there's that process of overlap of separating those two.
Exactly.
Right? And it sounds like so many others who are here at Michigan State in AIA, having done some of these steps that you've taken, have really figured it out of like how to navigate.
I don't know about figured it out.
No, but in process, right? And like have learned and have the aim of where we're trying to go. But when did you realize, Matt, that running was for you? When did you realize that that's a vessel that you could use to get to college?
Yeah, for me, so I used to play soccer, which is pretty common. A lot of runners grow up being the fast one on the soccer field, but really gave soccer up my freshman year of high school. Soccer was everything for me. I had all my best friends, and it was a tough decision, but I just really enjoyed running, the competition aspect mainly. Really just enjoyed competing, seeing how good I could get. And that freshman year, I decided to stop with soccer and then go into running. Then I actually got hurt. So like my career started on a bad way, but since then, experienced a lot of success in the sport. And then since my freshman year, I think I really just had a passion for the sport.
Certainly. Yeah, I know a great friend of mine from back home. He runs at Seattle Pacific, a Division II up there, and I think like there's so many similarities across the running community, and it's one that's very tight knit.
It is,
if you let it be. What has that been like for you? Have you been able to connect with other runners who are of faith? Like, how does that look?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been very privileged to run at some really cool places and around the country.
Sure.
And the running community is really special, but I think the Christian running community is also very special. And I have friends on teams all over the country. And I think it's really cool to just bond over that and understand, like, we share this thing that we love with running, but we also share greater glory in Jesus. And I think when you can combine those two things, it just makes the friendship even tighter.
Have you given any thought to, and I was just, as you were speaking, I was thinking about this, is like The idea that Paul compares walking in faith
Yeah.
to running a race.
Yeah.
Have you given any thought to why that is? Like why he's drawn that comparison?
Man, Paul's a goat. He knew what he was doing when the Lord was speaking through him. But I mean, I haven't really thought of that necessarily, but
Sure.
I think running for me just with faith is just such a good metric. I think like where Paul talks about running the race of life, you can compare that so well to just a race. Like a race, like no race is ultimately going to satisfy you. And I think understanding that has really helped me as well grow in the sense of I can work at this with all my heart, like they say in Colossians. And like ultimately knowing like my validation isn't going to be here on earth, but I can put my all my work into this while glorifying the Lord, and that is what the Lord asks of us ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah, most certainly. Man, that's just fantastic stuff
Yeah.
right there. I think like so many times folks don't operate from the eternal perspective.
Exactly.
Right? Of aiming at what's to come.
Yeah.
But not what is right now.
Yeah.
And what's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's a blip in time.
Yeah, dude.
I would like, how often do you find yourself thinking about what is to come and not so much what is?
Yeah. Honestly, I really like to be in the present. I'm a really big relational guy, and I like to just be in the moment. When I went to South Africa, they had this, I don't know what the saying was. It was like called African time or something.
Okay.
And it's basically like the South African culture is like people are always late because like they're so busy in the moment.
Sure.
And I'm Ethiopian, and I get a lot of crap about that. Just like being very caught up. Like I'll get in conversations that like 10 minutes long end up being an hour. But for me, I like to be in the present. But also that eternal aspect is important. I think it's important when you're down, especially for me, because the Christian life isn't easy. There's a lot of struggles, but we're promised that the Lord will be through it with us through that. And I think in those moments is when I really have to lean on the Lord and understand like there's a greater mission for this. This isn't it. And through our suffering, that there is something to come through this.
Yeah. He who is faithful to begin a good work in us, right?
We'll finish it. Yep.
Yeah. Bring it to completion.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really good. And I think so many times, like, again, it's kind of what I was saying when I asked that question, but it's true, is that people don't think that.
Exactly.
You know, people think like what trials and tribulations they're experiencing, they won't come to an end, but they will.
They will.
Like, man.
Everything will.
Yeah, you will be at peace one way or another.
Yep.
Man, I love that. I really do.
Yeah.
What, like, let me ask you this. Has there been any time in like studying the Word and what you've learned, and I guess like within the Word, is there anything that struck you the most, or like any influential verse that you have, or something a truth that you keep coming back to?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I love all Scripture, but I think one I come back to a lot is Romans 8:28, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for the good of those who love Him, and that's just something that I really wrestle with a lot, especially through tribulation. It's like God's not promising us an easy life, but in that we can understand that the Lord will use all things for the good. And I think it's tough in the moment. It's really tough, but if you can understand that truth and understand like the Lord's going to work through it, it can change everything. But then with that, like, I think understanding like that Jesus was literally sent here to die for us. I think for me in my walk, when I really understood that, got that like truth, like that's a hard truth to understand, that Jesus died for us, died for me, died for you.
Yes.
When you can really understand that and have that relationship with Him and understand it's a relationship, that changes everything. So,
Do you remember when the last time was? And I apologize because this is kind of like a crazy question, but just something I was thinking of. Do you remember when the last time was when you didn't believe that you would be brought through a trial? When you were doubting enough to feel like maybe you wouldn't get out the other side?
Yeah, I mean, running's a tough sport. You get into runs like we run like We have guys running 100 miles a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so like we run quite a bit. I run 85 to 90,
But still.
yeah. So like
That's good.
I'm not gonna say like I've got it all figured out all the
Sure.
time, but there are times like in the sport especially where I'd say like it can be tough. But like for me, and something we learned at camp was finding a focal point. So mine is my wristband. It's called the 4, and yeah, and I know a lot of people like that one, but for me, it's just understanding like this is an opportunity for me to worship God and anything I'm doing. And when you're 14 miles into a 16-mile run, like you're like, this is so hard. But understanding why I'm doing it,
Sure.
why when I'm doubting, and then looking at my wristband is really helpful for me to understand my why.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me ask you.
Yeah.
When you look at that wristband, what are some of the things that come to mind? If you had to choose one of the 4, what would you choose?
I think for sure it's got to be the love. I mean, it starts with the love. Like the Lord loves us so much that he sent his son. And I think we're missing it all if we don't understand the love of God. And I think that's our mission as Christians: love God, love others. And understanding that the Lord is a loving God. And it hurts me to see when people think like Christians are so hateful. Christians don't want like the best for others. Like, no, like we do. Like we want the best for you, and the Lord, that's what the Lord wants. And it breaks my heart seeing people think like the Lord isn't a loving God, because he loved you so much that he sent Jesus to die for you.
Yes. And I think, man, what you just said struck a chord with me, because oftentimes when I'm having conversations with those who are unbelieving, I will hear stories, and I would presume you've heard the same thing, that the church is capable of hurting you.
Exactly.
And capable of leading you away from the Lord. And it's like sometimes like those two things, they're independent of each other. Like the Lord's work sometimes doesn't align with what a church preaches or what who a person is who's instructing in the church. And I just find that line to be very interesting to walk. Particularly when we talk about folks who are newer to faith and being brought up. But I was wondering, like, do you go to Commons or where do you go?
Yeah, so I go to the Commons on Sundays.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't believe when they sent Zach off just recently. I was like, no.
Zach's my guy.
But I guess, shoot, in the same way, I'm about to leave too. So that is what that is. But what has your experience been at the Commons? And, you know, I guess, did you go somewhere else before college, or what did that look like?
Yeah, so I grew up Greek Orthodox.
Okay,
so
absolutely.
I went to a Greek Orthodox church in Lansing. But in my freshman year summer, heading into college, I had a buddy and a couple friends in athletics here who would go to the Commons when it was still a bigger church, but not as big as it is now. But
it's huge.
Yeah, praise God. But so started going to some like summer hangouts, some SALT events here and there, and really just felt welcomed. The people there love them, and I think they just do a really good job of being intentional, and the intentionality was the biggest thing to me. The way they represent the Lord's love and the Lord's passion. I think they do a really good job of preaching the word every Sunday, and like they say, Jesus is the main thing and always will be. It's one of my favorite things about the church, that they bring the truth and they don't like to sugarcoat it. I mean, you're going to go there, you're going to hear about Jesus. And I think that's the best thing a church can do.
You know, as I'm thinking about it, you were baptized, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that occurred at the Commons?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Why were you baptized?
Yeah. So for me, I wanted like all those around me to just be able to see like the change in my life that the Lord had done. I recently got back from South Africa, and I was debating, and I felt like I had that calling for a while. At that point, I'd been walking with the Lord for 6 to 7 months, and there's always something in the back of my mind like, should I get baptized? Should I? And for me, it was like, how publicly am I willing to go about my faith? And at that point, like, I'd gotten done with a mission trip, which I grew tremendously on, like started learning how to share my testimony, being vulnerable, confessing sin, all these different things. And at that point I was like, man, like I'm really starting to grow. Like I really want to share what the Lord has done in my heart. And I really wanted other people to be there for me. So I originally wanted to get baptized in South Africa.
Okay.
Which would have been really cool, but
Yeah.
I was wrestling with it. I felt like there were a lot of people back home who played a part in my faith journey that I wanted to be there. But yeah, it was really cool. Had a lot of teammates come out, which was really cool, who hadn't been to church in a while. And I think through that, the Lord brought friends from back home to church who hadn't been in a while, and just it was really cool to see people gather in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that people miss about being baptized or even rebaptized.
Yeah.
In the case when that happens, is just that it's not always about you.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Sometimes it's about who sees it.
Exactly.
And what they think.
Yeah.
And what they see. Had you been baptized before, like as an infant?
Yeah, I was baptized as an infant, and it was just something that I felt I needed to rededicate my life to the Lord. And at that point, I was like, this is something I felt called to.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I wanted to share this with you. I've
Yeah.
been thinking the same thing
Yeah.
very recently.
Yeah.
I was raised in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
And I didn't know. Here's what's interesting.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I went about probably 17 years of showing up to church
Yeah.
because I could eat donuts
Yeah.
and watch football on my phone. That was about it.
Yeah.
And it was later in high school where the narrative started to shift a little bit, right? And it's just the pinprick in the heart that opened the college floodgates of like, I now understand why that was a flawed place to be in.
Yeah.
Was, showing up for football
Yeah.
and donuts.
And we've all been there.
That's right. Absolutely. And to that point of everyone being there at one point or another, I've been left to say my faith wasn't my own at that time.
Exactly.
And now I know that.
Exactly.
And now it's like, I might need to do this.
Yeah.
I feel it. So I appreciate you. And actually that reinforced what I was starting to feel of like, it might make sense.
Yeah.
But I'm also walking that line of leaving here, East Lansing, May 18th in a couple weeks and going, I don't know. I don't know. So
That's real.
because a bunch of people are getting baptized at the Commons. And it's wild to think that.
Really cool to see.
Yeah. That's right. A couple weeks ago, I was doing a show with a football player at Oregon.
Okay.
His name's Luke. He's from the same area of Oregon that I'm from.
Nice.
And I didn't know him, but a friend of mine who goes here was childhood friends with him from out there. And my friend Jet, maybe you know Jet Brocky, just a name. Okay, yeah. He's in Salt, but I know Salt's huge. So no surprise. But Jet said, hey, if you want to do a show with Luke, we should do it.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and Luke goes, one of the first things he said, he goes, have you heard of Salt?
Yeah.
And we're both like, yeah. Have you?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I'm in Salt at Oregon.
Sweet.
It's Salt's first year at Oregon.
Wow.
And
That's
they're
awesome.
already starting to grow.
That's
and
awesome.
some of those football guys are starting to lead that thing.
That's really cool.
And I'm like, it might begin to look a lot like it does here in not that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So we're about to head out for the summer, right? What does your summer look like?
Yeah. Funny you say that, actually. I have a pretty busy summer.
Okay, sure.
So I'm going to be heading out to UTC again.
Wow.
So
3 times?
Yeah, alumni intern.
Okay.
I made some of the best friends of my life ever out there, and just want to really go back and pour into the camp and give back to what it gave to me. So I'm really excited for that. But I'm actually also going to be interning with Athletes in Action.
Okay.
Out in Xenia, Ohio, which I'm really excited for as well.
Yeah. Man, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I remember throughout the job search for me, I saw a few of those applications. I was like, that is really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So hearing you say that, I'm like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
We need that.
Yeah.
We need that. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else going on? Any leisure time at all? It sounds like go, go, go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be running a lot too, so not much. My birthday's in the summer, so I think a couple of my buddies and I might try to go to the mountains or something.
Great.
But that's later in August.
Okay.
So for the beginning, we'll be a little busy.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
Yeah.
What do you think about doing a rapid fire segment
I'm here for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Let's go. This is our segment, Rolling Loud on the Rec Room.
Okay.
Let's get into
Let's
it.
do it.
If you could run anywhere in the world, where would you run?
Gotta say Ethiopia. I've been
Okay.
there before. Running so beautiful there.
Yeah. Wow. That's good, man.
Yeah.
And you know what I have like enjoyed learning about
Yeah.
is the fact that many of the premier runners in
Yeah.
the game are from Ethiopia,
Yeah.
from countries
Yeah.
in the region.
Yeah.
And I like you saying that, I was kind of like Ethiopia. And then I
Yeah.
went, wait a second.
Yeah.
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 There's
a lot of good runners there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. What does an off day look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, we usually only get like 1 day off. So that off day is just as much recovery as possible. So rolling, stretching out. Usually it's on Sunday. So go to church in the morning. But making sure you're fueling all that. So just staying off the legs, but recovering.
Okay, yeah. And you've talked about extensively during our show the love for running and the love for the Lord.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you love, man, in life?
Yeah, I love to play pickleball.
Okay.
Love to, big gamer. Love to play games, video games. Just love hanging out with people. Like just having friends over at the apartment. Really like music. Really big on just like Christian, like all Christian music, Christian rap, Christian hip hop, all that. Love diving deep into that. So.
Where would you say that love comes from? Is that something that just kind of struck you, or has it been a gradual development?
Yeah, with music.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been pretty big on music, but for me, especially since I've grown in my faith, I think the stereotype, and for me as well, was like, oh, there's not good Christian music out there, and I think that's just so far from the truth. Like, there's some really good stuff out there, and you just got to dive deep in. And I've just enjoyed like finding new artists, finding different songs, and man, there's some heat out there.
Yeah. Who are some of your top? Let me hear you.
Man, I mean, my friends are gonna laugh when I say this, but KB's my favorite.
Okay.
So
sure.
I got to meet him actually.
Wow.
This past February.
Okay.
So KB, Tripoli, Lecrae, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. Also like big fan of Halvey.
Okay.
No big deal. So love all the Christian rap out there.
That's
sure.
right. Yeah. They all are. And it feels like Christian music is like taking a new level, man. Like serious ground for the kingdom right now.
It's something special for sure.
Yeah. I think anytime that you like, we look at the entertainment industry and the music industry as so secular.
Exactly.
And a couple different like methods to be not of the Spirit. But the fact that so many talented Christian artists are getting in and making public professions, it's just fascinating.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's really starting to move right now.
It is.
Even somebody like, and this is a crazy call, but like Jelly Roll, man. Like the fact that he is starting to do a bunch of work with Brandon Lake and some of those guys. Forrest Frank is out there, and
I forgot about
Thomas Rhett is getting in on the action country. It's just like, wow. Like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, man, I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Really do.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, is there anybody you'd like to shout out? Anything you'd like to give thanks for? Floor is yours as we move out.
I mean, guys, like I'm a walking testimony of the Lord. I just really want to give all glory to Him, but also just the ministry of Athletes in Action. I think that ministry has really done just a tremendous job of ministering to collegiate athletes on this campus, and just can't say enough good things about that ministry and what that's done in my life as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
very
you too,
much.
Man.
And
Appreciate
it was good to see you.
You too, man.
And can't believe we're almost out for the summer.
Yeah.
This is, folks, the last episode of the school year, man. Hard to believe. It's been 29 of those things.
Yeah.
But really cool. And just so much appreciation for you. And we hope that y'all have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be at.
For sure. Peace, guys.
Thank you.
For sure, dude.
That was awesome.
Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
I love what you're doing.